This will probably be the last one I'll do on suicide for a while, but I've got a real burden about our young people and our college students. I did some research on suicide. I am not a professional. I am a pastor. I've been a chaplain for a hospice program for about 6 years. So I'm not an expert on suicide, but I've been through. In other words, I'm one of the folks who were left behind when my mom took her life. So I've experienced suicide in our family. I've experienced it in my uncle's family, my favorite uncle. So I'm well acquainted with what suicide does and how it hurts people. And there needs to be some preventative measures. And folks don't realize it's the number 3 killer among teenagers. I will never forget. Some years ago, one of the young guys in our school, he was athletic. He was a real good-looking guy. Hey, he was a lady killer. They just kind of swarmed around him. He was a nice-looking guy, and it was smart. He was really smart, and just had the world by the tail, it looked like. And he took his life. 14, 15, maybe 16 years old. I don't know. It's devastating to me. I had not experienced suicide at that time, but anyway, it is a leading killer. I think one of the greatest killers of teenagers is automobiles and having wrecks. But somewhere down the line, about 3, that's the number 3 killer is suicide. People taking their life, young people taking their life, and tragically, between 15 and 29 years of age, this is the age group that we're getting the most suicides out of. And some of them are, like I say, teenagers. They do things impulsively. They think they have no other way to go. There's no other solution, or some think this is a solution to their problems. Suicide is not a solution to anybody's problems, and it causes more harm and hurt than one can possibly imagine to those who are left behind. As I said, I don't have a degree. I'm not a doctor of psychology. My brother had some degrees in psychology, and he and I did a paper on suicide. I don't have it. I wish I did. I can't find it, but nonetheless, it doesn't make any difference whether you're a trained professional or you just like you and I are, just a human being that's gone through the loss of a loved one. You know suicide will knock you off your feet. And it's tough. It is tough for a parent to lose their child to suicide. You know, it's heartbreaking. So I want to share a few things anyway. I'm reminded, and I may have shared this before, I can't remember. Little fella was in school. He was not well liked at all. He was kind of a bully, a troublemaker, stayed in trouble all the time in the principal's office. And he was on his way home from school one day, and when he was on the way, he dropped his books. And another little guy come along and said, "Let me help you pick up your books." So he picked up the books and tried. I said, "I'll tell you what, they're so heavy. Let me just walk all the way home with you." So he goes home, and the guy that's carrying the books, or dropped the books, said, "Come on in, let's play a few games." And they played checkers or cards or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. But the little fellow said, I really got to go because Mom will be looking for me. So he took off and went back home. And before the guy let him leave, he said, "I want to tell you this. If you had not come, I was coming home to kill myself. You have just been the reason that my life has been spared. There will be some instances in your life where you may be the one to step in and help a person, prevent them from taking their life." I've been called to homes a number of different times, and that was a situation where they were going to take their life, and I kind of take them through things I've been through and how we had to clean up after Mama's death. I mean, she shot herself, had to take the carpet out, and those kind of things, and try to help folks see how much hurt and pain is left behind. At any rate, suicide is the number 10 leading cause of death in America. Over 48,000 people a year die by suicide. This will blow your mind. 2.9 million people annually attempt to take their life. An average of 133 suicides per day. Some of the hardest funerals I've had to do have been those who have taken their life. And as I told you, my favorite uncle, Uncle Lee, took his life 17 years later after my mom had taken their life. And it truly devastated me. I preached his funeral. It's one of the hardest that I've ever preached. I don't know of any person on earth I love much more than I love my Uncle Lee. He could do anything. I mean, and by the way, he liked hard motorcycles too, and I like that. But this guy could work on a car. He could build a house. You name it, right on them line. There just wasn't anything he couldn't do. But he had a heart that loved people. He was a people person. And I know many times we've had a lot of deaths in our family. He would leave his home, come over to where I was, whether my home or at the church, and try to console me and tell me about things that were going on. At any rate, broke my heart when I had to do his funeral. It was a great loss to the family. It was a great loss to me. Teenagers sometimes think about these things and suddenly take their life without even really thinking about it. You know, it's an impulsive act. They just jump and do it, and then they have regrets. The rest of the families have regrets for the rest of their life because they did do it. There are some means that we can do. Some of the things is, if we think somebody's suicidal, is try to get rid of the methods of taking their life, whether it's a gun or a knife or it's drugs or some other thing. They get in their car, they can drive out and hit a tree or another vehicle, and those kind of things can happen. We can't take everything away, but we can remove some things, and that may save somebody's life. It's worth trying anyway. Even with all of our help and all that we remove, they still can take their life. So please, if a person talks about suicide, there's a good chance that they're serious. So I take every one of them seriously and do my best to try to help the folks is leading that way. People who've experienced suicide are those who most likely will take their life or experience violence. If they've experienced violence or bullying or child abuse or sexual abuse, or they're at the very much higher suicide risk. As I said, sometimes it's associated with feelings of confusion or sadness or helplessness or anger or attention or hyperactivity, not measuring up to in schoolwork or what their friends have. Sometimes it's caused by peer pressure. Among teenagers, it is associated with feelings of stress, self-doubt. Oh man, that's terrible. Insecurity, pressure to succeed, financial uncertainty, disappointment, and loss. For some teens, this may appear to be a solution to their problem, but it really isn't. I want to give you a few telltale signs, and that really ought to be the title of the tape today. If you see your young person change in eating or sleeping habits, frequent or persuasive sadness, withdrawal from friends and family and regular activities, frequent complaints about physical symptoms, often related to emotions such as stomach aches, headaches, and fatigue, decline in quality of schoolwork, preoccupied with death and dying. There are some warning signs, and I want you to hear this especially. We can look and see some of these things. They're talking about suicide, or they're acquiring means to commit suicide, like buying a gun or getting a knife or getting pills. Isolating or withdrawing from social contact. Look, if you see them having unusual mood swings, such as emotional highs, real happy, then deep depression, having a fixation on death or dying or violence, expressing feelings of being a burden to others, feeling trapped, increasing use of alcohol or drugs. These are important things to start watching for. Normal or abnormal routine, including eating and sleeping patterns. You hear them talking about self-destructive or drug abuse or reckless driving or drinking. There also is a great problem. It's among the college students. For the first time, they're away from home. They're away from parental support and guidance. They're on their own. They're experiencing a tremendous amount of peer pressure. They get in with the wrong crowds, and sadly to say, they're open to drugs and alcohol and immorality and all these things. So many young girls have come along and become expectant mothers and taken their life because of the shame or whatever. Their increased freedom is causing more stress. Their academic demands, making A's or B's or C's, got to make the list, or failing a grade. Sometimes this will lead to suicide. It's an opportunity to be away from home, a new group of friends, and sometimes they choose the wrong friends to experiment with alcohol or other drugs. This has been kind of lengthy. I've stumbled through it, so please forgive me. But I've got a burden about folks who want to end their life. As I had even one of the comments from a guy said, I know I'm going to take my life. And I told him, you'd just be wasting your life. You're robbing yourself of opportunities to do something for yourself, for family, for friends, and for others, and most of all, a chance to really become something for God. Please, please don't take your life. Please be alert. Moms and dads, brothers and sisters, keep your eyes on those around you. There are people out there who are hurting that really need you to help them. Watch over them. Please, please pray for those who you think might be suicidal. Thank you for watching. Bye now.